A breakthrough for scientists after they had a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale.
Did it say I'm tired of fish?
Beneath layers of black water, thousands of meters deep, where no human has ever set foot. A strange voice is echoing, a voice that, even now, scientists cannot explain. Cold, precise click sequences, like Morse code, repeating, transforming, then falling silent as if someone down there is trying to speak to us. For centuries, we thought it was just the meaningless echoes of the ocean, but AI's discovery has revealed a truth that stuns the scientific world. Those sounds follow rules, have grammar, have syntax. They are language. But whose language is it? Where is it emanating from? Beneath those thousands of meters. In 1970, amid the global wave of environmental awakening, a small vinyl record changed the way humanity viewed the ocean. It was called Songs of the Humpback Whale, the melodies of the humpback whales. It was the first time humanity realized that those repeating sounds, like Morse code, belonged to the colossal creatures out there in the open sea. They might be talking to each other, but for decades afterward, it all remained speculation. Science back then lacked the tools to interpret those underwater symphonies. Marine biologists only knew that they sang, repeated, changed, but not why. Were they mating signals, warnings to enemies, or a form of storytelling that we weren't intelligent enough to comprehend? Humans could hear them, but remained illiterate in the language of the seas. Then, half a century later, an American scientist named David Gruber appeared, posing an unusual question. If we've been searching for extraterrestrial intelligence in the cosmos SETI, why overlook non-human intelligence right here on Earth? From that question, Project SETI, Cetacean Translation Initiative, was born. A bold project like none before decoding the language of sperm whales using artificial intelligence, unlike previous research that stopped at recording and describing. SETI set an unimaginable goal, creating two-way dialogue, not teaching them to speak human language, but learning to speak theirs. To achieve this, Gruber assembled a team that no one could have imagined sitting at the same table. Marine biologists who had spent their lives diving with sperm whales, linguists who had studied how grammar forms in humans and animals, computer scientists and AI engineers who built deep learning models capable of discerning meaning in data chaos, and even robotics experts designing devices that could dive deep, record, and listen in place of humans. A strange alliance between biology and technology, between natural intuition and artificial intelligence. They called it SETI of the ocean because to find another intelligence, sometimes you don't need to look to the skies, but simply listen deep into the sea. Project SETI is not just research. It is the first encounter between two intelligences coexisting on one planet. And if successful, it will force humanity to rewrite the definitions of language, consciousness, and even humanity's solitude in the universe. But how do you listen to a voice emanating from depths of thousands of meters where no one can survive long enough to hear a full sentence? The answer begins on a small island called Dominica. In the middle of the Caribbean Sea, just a few miles off the coast of Dominica, is where the ocean suddenly plunges more than 1,000 meters, a vast, silent abyss teeming with sound. It is here that Project SETI chose to build something unprecedented in scientific history, an underwater studio not to record human voices, but the language of another species. Dominica was not chosen at random. Its geographical position is unique. A volcanic island surrounded by deep sea trenches right near the shore, creating ideal conditions for tracking sperm whales, the giant whales with a habit of migrating close to underwater mountain slopes. They live here year-round, returning season after season, generation after generation, as if Dominica were an underwater capital of the sperm whale world. With $33 million in funding from the TED Audacious project, the SETI team transformed a 20x20-kilometer stretch of water off Dominica into a massive acoustic sensor network, what they call the underwater studio. No walls, no roof, but the entire area is covered by hundreds of hydrophones, specialized underwater microphones, sensitive enough to capture even the vibration of a fin sweeping through the current. These hydrophones are arranged in a honeycomb grid, placed at various depths, operating 247. They don't just record, they triangulate sounds in three-dimensional space, pinpointing the source, direction, and distance. When a sperm whale emits a click, data from dozens of receivers is captured simultaneously, and synthesized by AI to reconstruct the sound's trajectory, knowing exactly which whale is speaking. To whom, and in what context. But listening alone isn't enough. To understand the dialogue's context, the SETI team needed to know what was happening around them. So, autonomous robots and underwater drones were deployed. They approach whale pods and attach vacuum suction sensors to the backs of individuals. These tags, small as a human hand, record heart rate, movement, swimming direction, depth, body temperature, and the sounds the whale hears in real time. When one emits a click, the system simultaneously captures its heart rate and movements, allowing AI to link emotion, behavior, and language in the same moment. Every day, hundreds of gigabytes of data are sent back to the control center on the island. Sounds are processed, noise filtered, then encoded into spectrograms, visual representations of sound waves. On screens, what seemed like random clicks appear as ordered repeating patterns, like characters in an undeciphered alphabet. With the enormous data collected billions of click segments in just a few years, Project SETI has created the largest bioacoustic library ever built by humans. No longer just a few experimental tapes, but a living language archive capturing every dialogue, every interaction, every emotion of these colossal beings we once thought silent. Now, instead of seeing the ocean as a void of unknowing darkness, scientists begin to view it as a vast network of conversations, where every sound is a sentence, every click a word, and every deep dive a story. In the heart of the Caribbean Sea, amid submerged mountain peaks and ocean currents, a language is being recorded second by second, a studio not for music, but for the ancient intelligence of the ocean. And as that data is fed into artificial brains, a new question begins to form. Can machines become the first translators between two intelligences, humanity and the sea? From SETI's underwater studio, billions of sounds are transmitted to the surface, countless click sequences that seem meaningless. To human ears, they are just steady, monotonous taps, no more than stones striking metal. But to artificial intelligence, they are an unprecedented linguistic corpus in biological history, and the greatest challenge in machine learning history: how to make machines understand a language that humans have never understood. First, all sounds are converted into spectrograms, visualizations of sound waves, where each click appears as a streak of light on a dark background. Each spectrogram is like a map recording the intensity, frequency, and rhythm of the sound over time. In this way, AI doesn't just hear, but sees the language of the sea. From those images, scientists begin training deep learning systems and neural networks, similar to models used for translating human languages. No preset rules, no dictionary, no grammatical structure. AI learns like a child, listening millions of times, comparing, memorizing, then finding patterns on its own after months of training. The machine starts recognizing intentional repeating patterns, click sequences that researchers call codas, the basic communication units of sperm whales. But what stunned the entire SETI team was the sophistication within each coda. AI discovered that these click sequences are not uniform. They have variations in rhythm, tempo, and even ornamentation. Small supplementary sounds added at the beginning or end of a sequence, like accents in spoken language. These subtle differences are not random. They completely alter the message's meaning, much like how humans shift a syllable or add punctuation. The training data shows sperm whales use a system equivalent to a phonemic alphabet, where each small change in rhythm or click length can denote a different syllable. When AI simulates these sound sequences and cross-references them with field behaviors during hunting, caring for young, gathering in groups, it uncovers clear links between intonation and action. This is no longer instinctual communication, but structured language with grammar, semantics, and context. And with this discovery, Project SETI has done what no one dared believe, proving that sperm whales use a complex form of language, on par with human communication. This finding shatters a millennia-old prejudice that only humans possess language with syntax. But if the sea has spoken, and AI has begun to understand, the next question that chills the world is, will there come a day when we can speak back to them in their own language? As AI begins to comprehend the click sequences of sperm whales, what scientists uncover is no longer instinctual communication. It is a form of dialogue with emotion, nuance, and social bonds. Analyzing millions of recordings reveals sperm whales don't just transmit signals for hunting or calling the pod. They converse, and the way they converse changes with the situation. When a mother calls her calf, the click sequences are slow and gentle. During hunts, the rhythm is fast, urgent, tactical, and when individuals gather after long journeys, the sounds become soft, almost warm. AI can detect subtle shifts in rhythm, frequency, and length things human ears completely miss and identify these are expressions of emotion. The deeper the analysis, the more the system uncovers something strange. No two sperm whale clans speak with the same voice. These groups called clans have their own dialects, regional accents. They differ in click rhythm, sentence structure, sound length, just as the English of Brits, Americans, or Aussies carries distinct inflections. Each sperm whale clan has its own native tongue. This leads to a seismic discovery that language is passed down through generations. Whale calves learn their clan's speech from mothers and elders, not through biological instinct, but through cultural education. When a newborn joins the pod, it absorbs the group's voice like a child learning its mother tongue. A single click rhythm can completely change meaning based on context, who says it, to whom, and in what circumstance. In the group, short, rapid clicks might be affectionate calls, but the same sequence, echoing from afar with a stronger tone, could be a territorial warning. AI proves that every sperm whale conversation contains complex elements, grammar, emotion, context, and social status, things once thought unique to humans. Piece by piece, the data forms a larger picture. Sperm whales have social identities, collective memories, and their own cultural systems. They recount traditions through sound. They preserve ancestral voices as heritage, and they recognize each other not by appearance, but by linguistic rhythm. What AI has uncovered forces scientists to ask themselves, if a species can create language, preserve identity, and pass down culture, then are we still the only ones with civilization? After years of collecting and decoding, with AI now understanding the structure of sperm whale language, every rhythm, every variation, every rule, the SETI team moves to the boldest phase, attempting to talk back. No longer just listening, but responding. No longer observing, but dialoguing. The goal is set. Create an underwater chatbot, a system that can generate sound sequences mimicking whale language, broadcast through underwater speakers, and listen for real-time responses. No one dares predict what will happen. This isn't just a technological test. It's humanity's first step across biological boundaries, conversing with another intelligence on the same planet. In 2023, off the coast of Dominica, the SETI team conducts the first experiment. A coda sequence is broadcast from an underwater transmitter, a short sound string that AI identifies as a common greeting among sperm whales. And then, in a few breathless seconds of silence, amid the vast depths, a sound echoes back. Exactly the same coda sequence. Not a physical echo, not a random reflex. A sperm whale off Dominica has replied. In that moment, the entire research team is stunned. On radar screens, the signal is clear. The sound comes from an individual moving around the device's area. This is no longer data collection, but the first conversation between two intelligent species on Earth. A response from the ocean, a sign that they understand, at least. Recognize that we are trying to say something. That small success shakes the scientific community, but at the same time, it opens an uncharted gray area should humans continue talking to whales. Every technological advance carries an ethical question. If we can communicate with them, does that interfere with the natural world they preserve? Will human conversations with them forever alter their language, behavior, or social structure? The SETI team understands that fragile boundary. David Gruber declares, "We don't want to teach whales to speak human. We want to learn how humans can listen to their voice on their terms." Every experiment is conducted in rhythm with the whales' natural lives and spaces, without coercion, without interference, only listening and responding when they initiate. SETI calls it the principle of parallelism, respecting the natural rhythm of another intelligence. They view every signal, every response, not as data, but as consent, a sign that sperm whales are willing to share their world. But even having opened the first door, beyond it lies an endless void. Will humanity have enough humility to listen to an intelligence older than our own? And if one day the sea truly answers, will we be ready to hear what they have to say? Project SETI has ushered in a new era for biology, an era where humans no longer just observe, but begin to dialogue. For centuries, we viewed animals as beings reacting on instinct, but now, thanks to AI, we know that beneath those blue waters exists another intelligence silent, subtle, and older than our own civilization. Decoding the language of sperm whales doesn't just help us understand how they live, it forces us to reconsider definitions of intelligence and consciousness. If a species can converse, teach its young language, pass down memories and culture, then perhaps intelligence is no longer a boundary separating humans from the rest, but a broad spectrum in the web of life. What Project SETI has achieved also opens entirely new directions for space science. The algorithms AI uses to find patterns in whale language, from random click sequences to syntactic structures, are identical to methods astronomers might use to decode signals from extraterrestrial civilizations. In other words, understanding whales today could be the first rehearsal for the day humanity hears voices from the stars. But beyond science, Project SETI is a lesson in humility. While we crane our necks to the sky, searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, that intelligence may have been right below, hiding in the ocean, speaking in the language of water, of sound, of silence. When humanity truly learns to listen, the ocean has responded. And in those click sequences echoing from the depths, we may be hearing not just the voice of another species, but the echo of the universe itself, reminding us that intelligence has never been humanity's alone.